A string of vicious bank robberies grows more violent with every holdup, then ends in a deadly shootout. With a dangerous man on the run, police conduct an all-out search for a fugitive so desperate, he will stop at nothing to make his escape.
Two armed bank robbers hit a Seattle bank, taking over $150,000. But before they can escape, police confront them and the pair splits up. As authorities search block by block, they learn one was a career criminal with a long history of violence. I'm Jim Kallstrom, former head of the FBI's New York office. The suspect was smart and desperate to stay free. Agents chased him through the Caribbean and across cyberspace, determined to put an end to his career.
One of the FBI's primary responsibilities is investigating bank robberies. And they see more of these crimes in Seattle than just about any other place in the country. The FBI office there investigates every bank robbery in the state of Washington. Special Agent Mike Adams runs Seattle's robbery division.
Over the last 5 or 6 years, we've averaged 300 bank robberies a year, primarily here in the Seattle or King County area. Bank robberies are a big problem here in this area.
The FBI cites a high rate of drug addiction and the fact that Washington has a relatively large number of bank branches as reasons for this. The Seattle agents see two basic types of bank heists. Most are one-on-one robberies, when someone approaches a teller with a note and a quiet demand for cash.
Not necessarily a robber who cares to draw attention to him or herself by being extremely vocal or attempting to take over the banking operations.
The other kind of robbery is more rare and more dangerous. The takeover.
A takeover robbery is where we have one or more robbers who enter a bank and attempt to take over the banking operations through various means, either ordering people to the floor or ordering bank employees away from the teller counters. More often than not, in a takeover-style bank robbery, the bank robber or robbers are armed with firearms. So those are considered very violent as opposed to a one-on-one style bank robbery.
Agents note that whenever takeover bandits get away with it, they will usually rob again, becoming bolder and more violent with each new attempt. On May 17, 2000, one particularly vicious string of takeover-style robberies begins at a downtown Seattle bank.
Hurry up! All of it. I will shoot you right now, lady. I ain't playing with you. Get that.
Working quickly, they disappear in minutes with thousands of dollars in cash. A week later, thieves hit another area bank, brandishing bigger guns, intensifying their assault on unsuspecting patrons and employees. 2 weeks later, robbers strike again with even more aggression. Since takeover robberies are rare, agents believe the crimes were all perpetrated by the same bandits.
We did see bank robberies that did appear to be similar in nature in terms of the level of violence, in terms of large amounts of money. Certainly, a robbery of that nature is going to pique our attention because of the significant level of violence.
Yet each time, the robbers escape cleanly in stolen getaway cars, leaving no eyewitnesses who can ID the men. The FBI is facing a pair of seasoned criminals who grow more aggressive with each attack. Recognizing a pattern of behavior, authorities feel these violent robbers will turn deadly. 6 days later, on the morning of June 22nd, 2000, their worst fears are realized. Two men head down Aurora Avenue, then turn into the parking lot of Wells Fargo Bank. The people inside have no idea what's coming. The gunmen corral the customers and employees, but they miss one. The robbers are organized. One stands guard, while the other finds a teller who can access the vault.
I'm asking you, do you have the key to the vault?
Don't look at me! Get over there!
The manager connects with police emergency.
Stay on the line. All units, we've had a bank robbery at 120 in Aurora.
A dispatcher puts out an urgent call about armed robbers still inside the bank.
204 received.
Seattle officer Wesley Buxton responds.
It was a bank robbery in progress. That's a little bit of an unusual call. We usually get bank alarms as opposed to bank robbery in progress.
Buxton races to the bank.
I said hurry up! Come on, here, fill it up. Hurry up!
Inside the vault, the thief takes all the cash his two backpacks can hold. The teller follows orders, hoping the gunman won't kill him.
No phone calls or nothing, you understand me? None of that!
Buxton kills his siren as he approaches the bank.
I was the first one on the scene. There was a motorcycle sitting out in front of the bank. I believe it was up on the sidewalk. You really couldn't see in the bank.
Following procedure, the officer finds cover and waits for backup. Officer Rick Sprecher arrives and gets into position. The bandits emerge, unaware of the officers. They cannot get the motorcycle started.
They sat there like they were frozen for a minute in time, I guess trying to figure out why the motorcycle wouldn't start. And then they jumped off the motorcycle and they started running away from it.
Then, one suspect trips.
I had my gun on him and told him to stay down.
Buxton stays with the first gunman. Officer Sprecher orders the second to stop. But the man disappears. Then Officer Buxton is suddenly faced with the unthinkable.
It seemed like slow motion. I've heard the tape recording of it and the shots were fired in quick succession. But at that time it seemed like there were even maybe 1 or 2 seconds between the actual shots.
Sprecher returns fire, finally stopping the gunman. Officers contain one suspect. The other is gone.
Got an officer down! Officer down! I need backup!
Officer Sprecher's call brings an intense law enforcement response. Emergency medical technicians work to stabilize Officer Buxton, while Officer Sprecher quickly briefs detectives.
He got shot 6 times. I muttered on him. Guys lose.
The man who shot the officer is dead.
Black jacket.
The hunt for the escaped suspect begins immediately.
One suspect at large, black helmet, black clothing.
A dispatcher broadcasts a description of the fleeing gunman on all police channels. FBI agents rush to the bank. Among them, Agent Mike Adams.
On my way to the bank, I did hear an officer was shot and was down. It was obviously a very violent takeover-style robbery.
Adams recognizes that these initial reports are similar to the 3 earlier robberies and that the violence has escalated even further. With one armed gunman still on the loose, authorities quickly moved to contain the situation.
There were several people, bystanders, who were beginning to gather around. So Seattle police immediately took control of the scene because of the imminent danger and potential threat that still existed.
The Seattle Police Department directs their homicide unit to the scene, including Detective Paul Seguro.
Anytime there's officer-involved shooting where a Seattle police officer fires a weapon, we are called to investigate.
All law enforcement agencies begin working together to develop a plan to find the escaped gunman. Seattle police form an emergency command post to coordinate the effort.
Their assignment. Let's wrap it up right now and take off, all right?
Members of our SWAT team had already started a search of the inner perimeter area.
Moving toward the general direction of the fleeing suspect, SWAT methodically searches every hiding space. They are careful, knowing that the gunman is desperate and could be anywhere.
Let's go! Let's go!
Concerned for public safety, law enforcement swarms the area. Roads are blocked, traffic rerouted. Detective Sergeant David Ritter.
The bank robbery and subsequent police shooting led to a tremendous police presence in the area. We had dogs, we had the King County helicopter, the special weapons team.
The SWAT team goes door to door, warning everyone in the business district.
Anybody in here with me down the street? Businesses were shut down. We closed all the local businesses for the safety of the people because the suspect was still at large.
Okay, you guys are right. Just do that, please. Thank you.
After treating gunshot wounds in Officer Buxton's left arm and right shoulder, the emergency medical technicians take him to the hospital.
Both wounds, the bullet went in and out, so it was just a matter of cleaning it up and make sure there wasn't anything that would cause any kind of infection.
Special Agent Adams searches the downed bank robber for clues.
I pulled out his identification, which said his name was Daniel Del Fierro. He was not someone that, known to the FBI at that time, but nonetheless, certainly a name for us to conduct further follow-up investigation.
Investigators locate the .380 semi-automatic handgun used to shoot Buxton. In a belt pack, they find a .38 revolver. Agents also recover 2 backpacks full of cash.
A lot of the money in there was still in shrink wrap, delivered from the Federal Reserve Bank. Later, the money found in both backpacks came up to well over $151,000. That is a lot of money, much more than is typically taken during a bank robbery.
Police run the plates of the motorcycle and learn it will not help them ID the escaped suspect. The bike was stolen. FBI agents interview bank employees and customers, searching for clues that might help them locate the second gunman. But the robbers never used any names, and no one saw their faces. An evidence technician recovers a footprint left on the teller counter. But it is the only physical evidence investigators find at the scene. The heist was clean. Local police pull up the record of the dead robber, Daniel Del Fierro. He was fresh out of prison, having served time for manslaughter and assault. Police continue to hunt down Del Fierro's accomplice. Within hours of the robbery, they pick up his trail. Detectives respond to a nearby junkyard where officers have recovered evidence.
We are backtracking, finding the items of evidence that were discarded. As he's running, he's getting rid of his motorcycle he had on, gloves. It's sort of like the trail that he left behind. And he continues running probably another 50 feet. And he took off his jacket. There's a high chain link fence and barbed wire on top of that. There's also a handgun, a .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol covered close to the jacket.
Investigators suspect that the gunman was covering his trail by leaving behind evidence and any clothing that would later identify him. But just as the suspect's trail appears to be getting cold, it heats up again.
Zero. I'll be right there. Gotta go.
Investigators head to a nearby apartment building, responding to a call made by the building's manager.
Excuse me, ma'am. You don't want to call the police earlier.
She had called police after finding fresh blood outside an apartment.
Anything unusual? Went upstairs to my apartment and noticed the blood on the stairwell.
Did you see any?
We surmised that the second suspect must have cut his hand going over the fence.
If it is the gunman's blood, he could still be in the building, armed and desperate. Police call for SWAT.
Right, secure the perimeter. We'll get you to a safe spot.
And a nearby team arrives immediately. With a dangerous and elusive gunman still on the loose, police hope they now have him cornered. Following a Seattle bank robbery in June 2000, a gun battle leaves one police officer injured and one suspect dead. A second armed suspect flees on foot and disappears. Police follow a blood trail to a nearby apartment building. Thinking the gunman might be holed up there, a SWAT team checks the place, one hallway, one apartment at a time.
Clear at the top, come on!
But they find nothing. Once the building is cleared, investigators secure a sample of the blood for later testing. Authorities pour every resource into the intense manhunt, according to Detective Sergeant David Ritter.
Because of the seriousness of the robbery, every available officer that we could find was involved in this hunt for the second suspect.
Police are cautious, knowing from experience that someone willing to shoot a cop is far more dangerous than the average criminal. FBI agents approach residents, asking them what they've seen and warning them about the fugitive.
The suspect was obviously very dangerous, and the people in the immediate area were afraid.
Tactical officers continue to check buildings, alleys, any place the suspect could hide.
Clear, let's go, next one.
They instruct every business in a 15-block area to shut down and lock up.
Okay, all right, thanks.
In no time, authorities seal off one of Seattle's busiest shopping districts, bringing the entire area to a standstill. Investigators have identified the suspect killed during the shootout as Danny Del Fiero. He is the investigators' best lead for locating the second robber. King County Deputy Prosecutor Steve Fogg.
So we got an immediate warrant for his residence, his car, to try to locate whatever information we could about him, and through that, who he might have done the crime with.
At Del Fiero's home, investigators meet a woman who had lived with him. She says she knows nothing about the robbery, but helps them compile a list of her housemates' associates.
We're trying to solve a crime here. Man, listen, I understand you're uptight about it.
Investigators then search Del Fiero's home, but find nothing that can help them identify the escaped suspect. Across town, officers respond to a call from a man who claims he was the target of an attempted carjacking. It is just north of the building where the blood was found.
I was leaving for work, and
The driver explains that minutes earlier, he was leaving his apartment complex.
of a sudden he saw this guy jump out in front of him and slam both of his hands down on the hood and force him to stop. The guy said, "Hey, I've been in a fight and I need you to help me. Can you give me a ride?"
Look, I need your car. Just come
The
on.
man became more aggressive.
He put his hand into the car, tried to grab the keys, and tried to take the car himself. When it became apparent that that was not going to work, he became quite vicious, within, a matter of seconds. The owner of the car was able to fight him off, push him out the door, and then just jet off as fast as he could. He reported what had happened to a police officer.
Yeah, the guy was like,
Police are convinced the carjacker is the robber they're pursuing. The victim gives them a detailed description of his assailant and the direction he was going.
He was moving to the north, so that moved the search in that direction. We got the description out immediately, and the media was helpful, and they got it out to the public as fast as we had it.
For 3 hours, investigators find no sign of the fugitive until a 911 operator gets a call.
My wife and I, we've been mugged.
A man reports that he and his wife had been held hostage that afternoon. The intruder had fled, but they think he was the bank robber they heard about on the news.
Yes, the one that robbed the bank.
Investigators race to a residence north of the carjacking attempt. The couple explains what happened. 3 hours earlier, the woman was leaving her house when she saw a man in her truck. He was calm and told her he'd been in a fight and needed her help. She didn't fall for it.
At this point, the police and the media were sort of circling the area, and she pointed up to the helicopters and said, "No, I think actually they're looking for you." And again, the personality changed just like that. The woman is not somebody who's just going to kind of roll over for this guy.
She tried to fight back.
He grabbed a knife, let her know that he was capable of using it. He signaled to her that his own survival was at stake and he was going to be as brutal as he had to be.
Get in. Where's the tape? Tell me right now, where's the tape? Do you have any rope? Don't move.
As he searched for something with which to tie her up, her husband came home.
Honey! Honey! Where are you? Hey! I'm home. Honey, what's going on?
The husband then tried to intervene on behalf of his wife, and this guy punched him.
Stop moving. Stop moving. Give me your hands. Give me your hands.
At this point, they were just doing what they needed to do to survive, and so they said, I think they felt like if they were tied up, at least they wouldn't be shot or anything like that.
The couple could hear the assailant making calls on his cell phone in another room.
2434 Campbell Road. Knock on the window, okay?
Then he calmly got a beer from the refrigerator and began watching accounts of his own robbery on television. He seemed transfixed by live images of the extensive manhunt.
About 2.5, 3 hours after they were tied up, there was a knock on the window, and he sort of ran out the door, and that was the last they ever saw of him.
By the time police respond, it's clear the suspect has slipped through their dragnet.
Once we interviewed the people in the house, then it was pretty obvious that he had gotten away. The intensive search ended when it was obvious that he had fled the scene and he had had some help from somebody else, probably a car. So the actual physical search of the area was pretty much stopped at that time.
Investigators processed the entire house, collecting fingerprints and blood samples. They hope the evidence will help them identify a dangerous criminal. A man who will do anything to escape the law. An armed bank robber is on the run, following a deadly shootout in which police kill his partner. During his flight, the fugitive assaults a couple, then holds them hostage in their Seattle home, while he waits for a getaway driver to help him escape. FBI Special Agent Gary Shaneline knows this fugitive is especially dangerous.
The nature of the act itself of bank robbery is very violent, but in trying to effect an escape, his partner and he were involved in the shooting of a police officer and also the taking hostage of innocent citizens. So the stakes in this particular case were definitely higher.
Detective Paul Seguro begins canvassing the neighbors of the slain robber, Danny Del Fiero. One man tells Seguro he had seen television reports about the stolen motorcycle used in the robbery, and he recognized it.
He saw Del Fiero with the motorcycle prior to the bank robbery taking place.
The man tells Seguro he saw the bike on a tow truck.
And this individual had seen another individual inside the truck with Del Fiero the day before.
Seguro thinks the tow truck driver might be the second robber. He asks the neighbor if he knows who he is. The man says he had never seen him before. The owners of the bank that was robbed tried to help, according to FBI Special Agent Mike Adams.
That very day, the bank came to us and wanted to offer a reward for information that would lead to the identity, arrest, and eventual conviction of the person or persons responsible for that armed bank robbery.
Agents hope the large reward will make people more willing to talk.
Myself, other FBI agents spent many long hours attempting to gather as much information as we could.
Investigators tracked down every possible lead, trying to get more information on Del Fiero's known associates.
We drove to several different addresses and locations in our attempt to interview different people who we thought might be able to lead to the identity as well as the location of the second suspect of this bank robbery.
Every lead becomes a dead end. Investigators finally get a break when officers begin processing the evidence left behind by the fleeing robber.
Inside the jacket was this piece of paper that had a photocopy of a driver's license that belonged to a young 16-year-old girl, and then a lot of information about who she was.
Police begin looking for the young woman.
They called the best number they had for her, which was her dad. And her dad said, well, she's at the movies. And they said, well, you need to get her. So she came and talked to the police, and she said that as soon as her dad came into the movie theater, she immediately knew what it was about.
Basically, the reason why I asked is because
they show her the photocopied license and ask how the bank robbers got it.
I really would hate to see.
She told us that she was approached by a person she went to high school with. The person she went to high school with said, I have an individual that has large sums of money. He needs ID and social security numbers. In return, you'll get a couple $1,000s if you let us use your ID and social security number.
The young woman explains the information was to be used to set up bank accounts to launder stolen money. She gives detectives the name of her high school friend, the middleman for the ID fraud.
So what is this all about?
Detectives track down the man and try to get him to cooperate.
We contacted him early morning hours. He was somewhat reluctant to talk to us at first, but then as we started talking, we finally started to tell us about who it was that asked him to obtain the identification and social security numbers.
His name is Aristotle.
He tells detectives the man's name is Aristotle Maher.
We then thought that it's very possible that Aristotle Maher is the person we're looking for, because he was obviously looking for a way to launder money in the hopes of getting legitimate funds in return.
Investigators are convinced they're on the right track when the middleman tells investigators that Maher owns a towing service. Police conduct a background check. DMV records reveal that there is a tow truck registered to Maher, and that it matches the one described by Del Fiero's neighbor. Investigators return to Del Fiero's home to ask his old roommate if she knows Aristotle Maher. She says Maher and Del Fierro had been friends since childhood.
Aristotle Maher.
So now his name has come up in two different sources or two different ways during the investigation. So now we started to focus on Aristotle Maher as being the second suspect involved in the bank robbery.
Authorities check Maher's police record. It's clean, except for one assault charge he received as a minor. Tax records show Maher runs a successful towing business and already owns property worth $400,000. Police are surprised to learn he was a star athlete in high school, graduating 6 years earlier with a 4.0 grade point average.
The first thing everybody said about him was how smart he was. And you could see he had a lot of potential in life, but was impatient enough. And I think that that fed directly into the greed that motivated these crimes.
Steve Fogg subpoenas the cell phone records of Maher and Del Fierro. He discovers calls made between the two suspects prior to the robbery. Circumstantial evidence that they were possibly in the planning stages.
Danny Del Fierro and Aristotle Maher were talking, 10 times an hour in the days and weeks that preceded this.
Police then ask witnesses to confirm Maher's identity. To do this, they create a photo montage.
Typically, what happens is you have 6 photos, and the person who's the suspect is one of the 6. Here, the police put together a 12-person montage. They really went the extra mile just to make absolutely certain that we had the right guy.
Authorities show the photo montage to the woman who was assaulted and held hostage in her home.
And she didn't have any hesitation at all. She picked out Mr. Maher immediately.
Later, her husband and the carjacking victim would also pick out Maher as their attacker.
So with that, taken together with all the circumstantial evidence, we were quite confident that Aristotle Maher was the guy we were looking for.
Go.
Authorities secure an arrest warrant for Maher and a search warrant for his home. Knowing Maher's volatile tendencies, police prepare for what could be a violent confrontation. On June 22, 2000, a pair of alleged serial bank robbers hit another Seattle bank. During a shootout with police, one bandit is killed, and the other escapes. The dead robber is Daniel Del Fierro. Authorities believe the fugitive is Aristotle Maher. Fearing a violent confrontation, police prepare to serve arrest and search warrants with the help of a tactical unit. With the team are homicide detectives Paul Seguro and David Ritter.
When we went to the residence, we had members of the SWAT team, multiple Seattle police units to assist us in securing the premise.
Room by room, SWAT searches the house. They find no sign of Maher. Homicide detective Paul Seguro.
Once the home is secured, myself and the rest of the homicide unit went in and started searching through the home.
Something real quick.
They look for any evidence that can tie Maher to the robbery or provide a clue to his whereabouts. In a hidden storage area, they find remnants of an arsenal.
Look at that. There it is. Look at that.
Detectives recover empty containers for various types of handguns.
I can reach for that second.
Although they do find a few weapons, most of the guns are gone.
There was different types of ammunition for long guns, shotguns. There was ammunition for handguns.
Detectives begin looking at the bullets more closely and uncover an important piece of evidence.
We found ammunition that matched ammunition that we found at the scene of the bank robbery.
Authorities also discover another lead. Documents that show frequent travel to and from Jamaica by Maher and several associates.
Also, there was small photographs and templates for the making of what appeared to be false identification.
Investigators suspect that Maher may have plans to flee the country under a false name. During the search at Maher's home, authorities discover a second house on the property.
Excuse me, Bob. We need that house cleared over there.
Agents immediately file a search warrant for the place and set up surveillance while they wait for the warrant to be processed. For a week, authorities watch people come and go, but see no sign of the robbery suspect. When a judge finally issues the warrant, SWAT goes in. What they find spins the investigation in another direction. The building is a storage unit for stolen goods.
We found numerous boxes, brand new appliances, riding lawnmowers that were brand new, refrigerators, numerous cellular phones, and just all kinds of items that were still intact, brand new, still in the box.
Investigators find packing lists still attached to the items, indicating they came from local home improvement stores.
It was obvious to us that Aristotle Maher was involved in a bigger criminal enterprise than just bank robberies.
The items were large. There were appliances, there were pallets of windows, big things, stuff that somebody doesn't go in and shoplift. I mean, these were big items and showed that there had to be some pretty sophisticated means to obtain this property. It was obvious that we needed help from our burglary and theft people. They coordinated the recovery of the property.
The Burglary and Theft Division worked with representatives from the local stores to identify more than $100,000 worth of stolen goods.
Representatives provided a big, large moving van, and all the items that were identified as being stolen or suspicious were then loaded in the back of the moving van and taken off property.
Investigators suspect that Maher must have had help obtaining and selling the items.
We believe a lot of the stolen property was sent to Jamaica. There just was some indication, some receipts, shipping receipts, etc., that showed a large amount of household goods going to Jamaica.
Authorities intensify their search for the alleged crime ringleader, Aristotle Maher. The Seattle FBI's Fugitive Task Force takes the lead. Special Agent Gary Shainline.
Well, we started with the fundamentals by contacting his family and associates in the hopes of finding that person that could give us the information that would lead to a safe and swift apprehension.
But every person agents interview claims no knowledge of Maher's whereabouts. Within weeks, the search for Maher begins to take its toll on the fugitive. In an unexpected, bold move, a group of Maher supporters, including his lawyer, holds a press conference proclaiming his innocence. They charge police have falsely accused him because of his association with Daniel Del Fierro. Agents speak with lawyers about arranging surrender, but instead hear a preposterous claim.
We tried to have him turn himself in a safe manner, in a controlled environment. And they said that he was, afraid that he was going to be, killed by the local police.
Maher remains a fugitive. The FBI takes a new approach. They seek the help of a national television crime show, advertising a $25,000 reward for information leading to Maher's arrest. The tips pour in. One caller claims he's been in contact with Maher through a popular web-based instant messaging system. Agents subpoena the internet provider for details on the instant messaging account and receive transcripts of the online conversations.
Through the content of the dialogue on the instant messaging communication, it was logical to believe that one of the participants was Aristotle Maher.
The company provides agents with the address of the computer used.
We approached it with the belief that it was possible that Maher could be there at that time.
Open up.
Armed with a search warrant, they confront a man who they recognize as a known associate of Maher.
Sure?
Yeah, I'm sure, sir.
He says Maher isn't there.
No?
Agents conduct a thorough search for any evidence that could prove the fugitive had been in the apartment, but they find nothing. Agents confiscate the computer in question. They eventually determined that Maher had probably never used the computer, that it had been the associate pretending to be Maher on the instant messaging system.
You ready?
The investigators' latest lead is a dead end.
That search really didn't glean any further information regarding Aristotle's whereabouts.
The FBI continues surveillance at the houses of family and friends, but soon realize Maher may never return.
You know, unlike your garden variety bank robber, Aristotle Maher did have some financial means. He had owned property, he had a rental house, and I'm sure that those assets and those means, helped him in his fugitive status.
An informant calls the FBI with a tip that appears to support what agents already fear.
A confidential source indicated that he had fled under an alias, that he had not just crossed the state line, but actually had fled the country, and that he had fled to Jamaica.
If Maher has indeed left the country under another name, he might be impossible to find. The FBI is now facing their toughest obstacle in a case that appears impossible to crack. The FBI continues to hunt for bank robbery suspect Aristotle Maher. They believe he fled to Jamaica under an assumed name. But the FBI cannot simply go after him, according to Special Agent Gary Shainline.
We don't have any police authority in other countries, so there are FBI representatives and there's U.S. Marshals in Jamaica that liaise with Jamaican authorities, and I was providing them with all the information that we were gleaning from our investigation here, giving them names and points of contact, possible locations that were worthy of investigation in Jamaica in the pursuit of Maher.
Investigating Maher's whereabouts in Jamaica is difficult. He's well connected on the island and has a lot of money to help him disappear.
We're confident that through those resources that he was able to maintain a low profile and have different places to go to hide himself.
Informants report occasional sightings of the fugitive, but he eludes capture. Agents believe he is moving from house to house under cover of night, supported by a loyal group of associates. Following the leads from agents in the United States, authorities in Jamaica relentlessly pursue the fugitive. They contact every known associate of Aristotle Maher. They are uncooperative, but authorities keep them under surveillance.
It's Aristotle Maher.
The marshals were watching everything they did down in Jamaica. They made it very clear that they were not going to go away until Mr. Maher returned to the United States and answered to these charges.
In Seattle, King County Deputy Prosecutor Steve Fogg decides to file several charges against the fugitive, based on the abundance of circumstantial evidence already in hand.
We charged him with an array of counts that reflected the full nature of this crime spree. We charged him with robbery in the first degree with the firearm enhancement because he was armed when that happened. We charged him as an accomplice with Danny Del Fiero to the shooting of Officer Buxton. We charged him with attempt robbery 2, which is a formal way of saying attempted carjacking. And then kidnappings because they were essentially kidnapped and held hostage in their own basement.
Steve Fogg also suspects Maher is involved in an international theft ring, but decides not to press charges.
Mr. Maher was already looking at so much time that the amount of additional time that would be added by this theft ring would be negligible. I mean, you're talking about a year or two on a guy who's looking at, 30, 40, 50 years in prison. So we did not charge Mr. Maher for that.
Authorities intensify their search for Maher. Seattle homicide detective David Ritter.
We kept the pressure up.
Give me a break.
I mean, they felt our presence. They made several complaints that we were harassing them, but we weren't. We were conducting an investigation of a very violent crime, and we wanted to solve it. We wanted him in custody. It got the whole situation probably too hot for him. He wasn't having much fun anymore.
After 7 months, the constant pressure pays off. On February 7th, 2001, Aristotle Maher shocks police, walking into the King County Jail with his lawyer.
Go up to the counter, put your hands where I can see him.
Seattle Police Detective Paul Seguro had chased Maher from the beginning.
Sergeant Christopher, this is Tebow down at the watch desk. Aristotle Maher just turned himself in.
I was surprised that Aristotle Maher had actually taken upon himself to turn himself in. We tried to talk to Aristotle Maher, interview him about the robberies, where he'd been. He did not wish to talk about any aspects of the investigation at all.
Authorities believe he has come back to take the pressure off his associates, and because he is sure the charges will never stick.
He was quite confident, in fact probably cocky, that this would be a case that he could beat in court. He could come back, beat this case, and kill two birds with one stone.
At his arraignment, Maher pleads not guilty to all charges.
One advantage that Mr. Maher had by fleeing was he could sit back and watch our case develop, and I had no doubt that he'd have an explanation for all the evidence, and we would have a real fight on our hands at trial.
Maher's defense team knows that lab examiners have found his fingerprints on items dropped outside the bank, including the motorcycle helmet and a pair of gloves. They explain the prints by claiming Maher lent the items to Daniel Del Fierro, the suspect killed in the shootout.
What Mr. Maher didn't know about, but we of course knew about, was this blood trail that had been left. I knew that the next step was to get an immediate sample of his blood, and I knew that that would definitely be the silver bullet if we were able to develop DNA information from the blood trail that was left.
A judge orders Maher to submit the samples, which DNA experts compare to blood found at the apartment complex and inside the kidnapped couple's house and truck. The examiner reports a match.
At that point, any concern we had about the outcome of that case definitely lifted, because it was clear that, taken together with all the other evidence that we already had, that this was a rock-solid case.
Maher decides not to risk a jury trial and changes his plea to guilty. He is sentenced to 23 years in prison with no chance of parole. Seattle police officer Wesley Buxton, shot during his confrontation with Maher and Del Fierro, is relieved that Maher finally got what he deserved.
I'm probably your typical police officer that feels that criminals should get much more than they actually get as far as the demands of justice. But I was fairly satisfied with the sentence.
Special Agent Mike Adams.
Given the high number of bank robberies we have every year, on average, well over 300 bank robberies here in the state of Washington, it's a good feeling when we can bring about, or at least help bring about, a successful conclusion to such a high-profile bank robbery investigation.
In the end, it was the combined efforts of the Seattle Police Department and the FBI that finally put Aristotle Maher out of business. In Washington, D.C., a notorious drug gang threatens an entire neighborhood. Witnesses are intimidated or killed. Even as the police and the FBI build a case against the killers, the body count continues to climb. Drug sales skyrocket as a neighborhood becomes a virtual war zone. Now the FBI must find the key to destroying a deadly gang known throughout the city as the K Street Crew.
In the 1990s, the war on drugs was in full swing. The front lines were often America's inner cities, where gangs used violence and murder to rule their empires. I'm Jim Kallstrom, former head of the FBI's New York office. When gang violence exploded in Washington, D.C., the Metro Police and the FBI fought back. Using high-tech surveillance and tough new laws, they set out to destroy the gangs from the inside out.
Washington, D.C. In this city of monuments and museums lies the heart of American justice. The Supreme Court, the Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. But even our nation's capital is not immune to crime. March 22nd, 1991. 20-year-old Wendy York returns home after running errands.
Teresa!
She shares an apartment with her cousins, Tarita and Teresa Lucas. Teresa is in the living room, lying on the couch. Her face is covered with blood.
Oh my God!
Wendy runs from the apartment and calls 911. An emergency dispatcher directs units to the scene. DC Metro Police arrive at the apartment within minutes. Teresa Lucas has been shot through the head. In a back bedroom, they find another body and a child. The second victim is Teresa's sister, Tarita. She has also been shot in the head. Her child is unharmed. Police discover another baby, terrified but also unharmed. It's Teresa's child. It seems both children have been alone with the bodies for hours. A short time later, the victim's mother arrives at the apartment. Renee Brown finds the building surrounded by police.
My mind was racing and I was trying to get in. The police were holding me back. They said, you can't get in. I said, this is my house. I have to go in. That was the most horrific day of my life. I will never forget it. They were very devoted and dedicated mothers. They loved their kids and they didn't deserve to die.
Crime scene investigators process the apartment. They find no signs of forced entry. Nothing in the apartment appears to be disturbed. No valuables have been taken. There is nothing that suggests a motive for the brutal slaying. Detectives suspect the victims knew their killer.
Nothing in the bathroom there. Let's take a look.
Detectives ask Renee Brown to check the apartment.
Please look around and see if you see anything.
The grieving mother is willing to do anything she can to help. Renee notices something missing from Teresa's bedroom.
The first thing I noticed was that a poster-sized picture that was there the previous night had disappeared from off the wall.
A frame is found, but a photo of Teresa's boyfriend, Sam Carson, is gone.
And I told the detective then, I said, I wonder where that picture is. And we looked in the trash in the back, and it was nowhere in the trash. So I said, whoever has that picture is the murderer.
Police contact Sam Carson to ask him a few questions.
How you doing?
He denies being in the apartment the night the two women were murdered.
Do you know that your girlfriend was killed last night?
Although Carson is a likely suspect, police have no physical evidence to tie him to the murders.
Like, where were you last night? You think you can come in?
Detectives interview people in the neighborhood.
Federal detective.
Although gunshots were fired in the Lucas apartment, neighbors claim they heard nothing.
Sure about that?
I don't
Did you happen to know the women?
No.
2 young women have died, and yet nobody is willing to talk about it. The double homicide catches the attention of law enforcement across the district, including the FBI. Special Agent Vince Lissy is shocked by the brutality of the crime.
Right here. You got the photos they've got from Craig.
Agent Lissy often works undercover and must protect his identity.
It was horrific. The police had very few leads to go on. They struggled and struggled with the investigation for some time, but there were no real witnesses to it.
Without a witness, police cannot identify a suspect. Without a motive, they cannot catch the Lucas girls' killer. And without evidence, the double homicide will become a statistic. Yet another unsolved murder in a city plagued by violence. The epicenter of that violence is Greenleaf Gardens, a housing project on K Street. The drug trade has reduced the neighborhood to chaos, according to Detective Steve Kirshner.
Crack cocaine hit this city hard in '85, '86. Along with that came a lot of violence. The homicide rate went sky high. I believe it started out mostly from jealousy of who was making the most money. There were kidnappings, assaults. Just led to a very violent area.
Buyers, many of them from the suburbs, made the dealers on K Street rich. The area provided few economic opportunities, so the lure of easy money proved a powerful recruiting tool.
It was a huge moneymaker for him, and it was pretty hard to tell a 14 or 15-year-old kid, hey, listen, go to school, do all the right things, whenever they can go out on the street, sell crack and make $1,000 a day. They could buy all the things that they didn't have before because they live in an impoverished home.
With millions of dollars in easy profits at stake, competition between dealers grew fierce. Streets became borders as gangs battled over sales turf. The neighborhood was a powder keg, according to Metro Homicide Detective Tony Brigadini.
The area was deadly. Numbers that we have compiled over the years of the investigation showed that this was probably one of the most deadly areas in the District of Columbia. It's very close to some of the government buildings in Southwest Washington, which was interesting in that there's an incredible amount of crime going on in a small area so close to a downtown business district.
The FBI and DC Metro Police formed the Safe Streets Task Force. Their job is to clean up a neighborhood that has become a war zone. Agents canvassed the streets, looking for information on the gangs.
Detective Henderson will conduct an investigation here on a murder case? Yes, sir. If I look into these photographs, it doesn't recognize them to one of these young ladies.
Residents are too afraid to talk or even be seen speaking with investigators.
If you walk up to somebody's door and you knock on their door and ask to speak to them, in about 3 minutes, everybody in that neighborhood is going to know that the police are there.
Frustrated by the lack of cooperation, agents try a different approach.
Sometimes we follow people to work. We try to get them away from a neighborhood. We try to do whatever we can so that the people in the neighborhood don't know they're witnesses.
Slowly, the residents open up. They talk about drug dealers who have taken over the neighborhood.
Tell me about him.
The K Street Crew. The gang is led by Vincent Hill, a ruthless sociopath who seems to thrive on violence.
If somebody came up and irritated him for any reason whatsoever, he had no problem grabbing a baseball bat, a hammer, anything he could, and hit them with it.
Hill's money and his brutality make him the most powerful man in the neighborhood, according to Metro Detective Neil Trugman.
He compared himself to a big-time mob figure.
there was no fear.
According to FBI sources, Vincent Hill runs the K Street crew with an iron fist. Still, gang members respect him.
Vincent Hill had a reputation for being a bully, but at the same time, others looked up to him because they saw that he had money, he had nice clothes, he had fancy cars. While he's manipulating them into selling drugs, they would see him beat somebody up for not giving him enough money. So all of these things kind of led the others to look to him as somebody that you didn't want to mess with, you didn't want to challenge, but at the same time, he was a way that they could make money.
The distribution of crack cocaine carries severe penalties. A conviction could get Vincent Hill and his crew off the streets permanently.
I think they're going to start selling a lot of marijuana.
Agents launch an investigation into the gang's crack dealing. But Hill's group is already one step ahead. Before the FBI can bust the K Street crew on cocaine charges, the gang suddenly shifts to selling marijuana.
They realized when they were selling crack cocaine, you're looking at stiff time. Selling marijuana was a misdemeanor. More than likely, you wouldn't get any time for it.
The demand is huge. Buyers pour in from the suburbs. The gang maintains its profits, minimizing the risk of jail time.
It just took off like a rocket. Everybody was making money. People were making $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a day just by selling marijuana.
Thwarted by the gang's move, the task force regroups as the dealers grow even bolder.
I would drive by in unmarked cars, and they would hold bags of marijuana up, 3 for $20, 3 for $20. And then when they finally got close enough to realize that you were a cop, they would run.
The dealers simply abandon their stashes until the cops leave. Minutes later, the dealers return to the exact same spot with a new stash and set up shop again. As business expands, the violence escalates, sometimes involving innocent victims. On August 29, 1992, Travis Ross and 2 friends are mistaken for rival drug dealers. Ross is killed instantly. Both of his friends are critically wounded. Police interview the survivors. They say they have no idea who shot them or why. Their reluctance to answer questions is understandable. Police believe the K Street crew has already murdered a dozen people who cooperated with authorities. What they don't know is how the gang is able to identify these potential witnesses. In 1995, Bruce Spencer is shot 5 times at point-blank range by a K Street crew member. Somehow he survives. He is willing to identify the man who shot him. The task force immediately places Spencer in protective custody. He is registered at a DC hospital under the name John Doe. While Spencer recuperates, Agent Lissy and other investigators scour Greenleaf Gardens looking for the men who tried to kill him. On K Street, Agent Lissy and Detective Trugman find themselves face to face with Vincent Hill, the gang's notorious leader.
He said, look, all your witnesses are going to die, every one. Even your buddy who's in the hospital under the name John Doe, in room, and he told me exactly what room it was. And I shook my head as if I didn't know what he's talking about, but I knew exactly what he was talking about. They wanted to let us know that it was their business to locate witnesses and silence them.
Investigators are even more determined to protect their witness. But word of Hill's threat reaches Spencer. Fearing for his life, the witness refuses to help investigators.
I'm through, man. Everything's working out. Come on, it's not.
The task force is frustrated, having lost another battle in their war against the K Street crew. In the 1990s, Greenleaf Gardens in the southwest section of Washington, D.C., is a neighborhood under siege. A gang calling itself the K Street Crew has claimed the housing project as its base of operations and turned it into a killing zone. Metro Police, working closely with the FBI, struggle to link the gang to a rash of killings. Investigators know it will take more than individual murder convictions to stop the widespread violence. They need a strategy that will take down the entire gang. The Joint Task Force decides to use RICO, a federal racketeering statute that will allow them to prosecute the K Street Crew as a single, corrupt organization that sells drugs and commits murder to protect their interests. Homicide detectives re-examine dozens of cold cases, cases that were once attributed to the random violence of the projects. They search for anything that will link the K Street Crew to murder, according to Detective Tony Brigadini.
Some of the cases that we were investigating were 8 years old, 10 years old. We would have to go back and research case jackets, try to find evidence that had been collected 8 or 10 years earlier, try to locate crime scene photographs, things of that nature.
Yeah, here it is. See this car? Is that the same car?
So, in trying to build a strong case, we were dealing with very little information.
In the meantime, agents launch a covert surveillance operation to gather evidence on the gang's growing drug business. Special Agent Vince Lissy.
We wanted to show the conspiratorial nature of these guys, how they operated on the street, how they took turns selling drugs, who supplied who. And we thought that if we could have undercovers introduced to the group, that we could accomplish this.
FBI agents set up a stakeout in an apartment overlooking K Street. The landlord offers it to them free of charge. Like most of the residents of Greenleaf Gardens, he's sick of the drugs and the violence.
We got some camera equipment, video, and still photos, and we would sit up there and watch them and try to get the people on K Street's patterns down. We would see Vincent Hill out there and see how he operated.
Investigators watch the area for weeks. Once they've established the gang's patterns, they develop a plan. Most of the drug transactions on K Street are conducted with buyers in cars. To get closer to the dealers, they'll need a vehicle.
We decided the best approach was to use a pickup truck. We got the oldest, dirtiest pickup truck the FBI had. We bought some toolboxes and put toolboxes on the back of the truck to make it look like a construction truck.
The truck is rigged with surveillance cameras and microphones. Two Metro investigators, Joe Abdallah and Jim Scheider, are recruited from another precinct. As outsiders, they will not be recognized by gang members. They will pose as construction workers to make drug buys. Metro investigator Joe Abdallah.
So me and Jimmy had it prearranged. If I was in any trouble or I felt my safety was in jeopardy, I was going to run for that truck, and depending on the situation, Jimmy was going to take off with me jumping in the back of that truck, or he would get out with his firearm.
The main target of the surveillance operation is Vincent Hill. The undercover officers expect they will have to make several buys before they can make contact with the gang leader. 5 cars carrying 2-man teams form a perimeter around the neighborhood. They stand by on their radios, awaiting Lissy's orders.
We had all this in place. We had the cars situated throughout the neighborhood. And we said, okay, let's go, let's try it.
Nobody moved until I said something.
As the officers attempt their first undercover buy, Jim Scheider knows he is heading into dangerous territory.
As soon as we turned the corner, my heart started racing. We knew that there was no turning back at that point.
Abdallah and Scheider look for a dealer, any dealer, to buy from. Then on a street corner, they spot Vincent Hill, flanked by his lieutenants. The K Street crew is out in force.
What y'all need? Man, can I get a couple bags?
Abdallah doesn't think twice. He gets out of the truck.
And I'd asked if I could get 2 bags for $40, which meant 2 bags of marijuana, which were $50, but if I could, I'd get them for $40 a piece. An individual to my left side ran to go get them from a stash, which was on a fence line. And Vincent Hill said, no, you'll take 2 for $50. I put the money down, and then I walked away.
The surveillance team documents the entire transaction. They now have the leader of the K Street crew on videotape, personally selling marijuana to undercover officers.
Joe bought from Vincent Hill the first time, and we said, wow, this is too easy. Within 30 seconds, the deal was done. Jim and Joe rolled back to the office, and we were just amazed.
The task force has been prepared to wait weeks, even months, to make contact with Hill. But it happened in less than a minute. The FBI presses their advantage. Over the next 6 months, they continue to buy marijuana directly from Hill, gradually increasing the quantity.
He approached me and we worked out a deal.
Each time, the sale is carefully photographed.
He was there. He never touched the drugs.
Through the undercover buys, investigators discover that Hill controls everything that happens on the block. This becomes clear when Abdallah and Scheider try to make a purchase from someone other than Hill.
And we were getting ready to make a purchase. And there was someone hollering down the street. When we looked back, it was Vincent Hill. We went back down into the block, met with Vincent Hill and bought from him. And I think he had that kind of power in that block.
For months, the buys go on like clockwork. Abdallah is doing more than making purchases. He's building a relationship. Slowly, he gains Hill's trust and tries to get information.
I tried to get any conversations I could from him. And there were times when I'd try and draw a conversation from him where he would say, look, if the police come in the block, I have a place to run to, you don't. So tell me what you need, let's get it over with. And there were also times when I had a conversation with him about setting up weight purchases, or no more than the $20 bag, what we would call wholesale quantities, like quarter pounds.
Abdallah begins buying in bulk, moving from ounces to pounds. He tells Hill he is selling marijuana at the construction site where he works.
There were occasions when he would actually front me drugs, which would mean he'd give them to me for free for payment at a later date. We had that kind of trust. And he even gave me good advice on when buying the weight. He would supply me with the smaller $20 bags. He gave me packages of those at some points, and he would tell me how to juggle it, or break it down and sell it in the quantities to my friends. And he gave me helpful hints on how to do that.
For 6 months, the operation runs smoothly. Then, a routine buy puts everyone on guard.
Well, at one point when I made a buy from him, I got back into the truck and Jimmy was driving and I was in the passenger seat, and Jimmy said, hey, he's waving at you. And he was motioning like to roll the window down. So I rolled the window down and he said, hey, look, these guys over here, they're saying that your buddy's a police officer. He said, I know you're okay, but he said, those guys over there will kill you.
Somebody tell me what's going on, please.
Y'all know y'all can't play me like that, right?
And it threw us off a little bit, and then when we started to leave, The guys that he was pointing to had like hoods over their faces and put their heads away from us.
It does not appear to Abdallah and Scheider that Hill suspects they are cops. So they continue the operation. A week later, the two detectives pull into K Street. Vincent Hill is there.
Hill was cold to me, didn't want anything to do with me. He said he didn't know where they sold marijuana, didn't know what I was talking about. And it was very confusing because even when he was angry and sold, he was just in a hurry. He'd say, "What do you need? Hurry up and get out of here." But on this day, he's like, "I don't have anything. I don't know what you're talking about. You can go somewhere else."
Hill sends them to another dealer down the block. That night, Abdallah meets the dealer in an abandoned house. The officer prepares for a confrontation.
The gentleman walked into a vacant house, called me in.
Safe up here.
The gentleman tried to give me like a sandwich baggie full of lawnmower clippings. It wasn't real marijuana. So it was that point, we knew something was wrong.
Abdallah knows their cover is blown. With backup cars at least 2 minutes away, he slowly talks his way out of the building. The undercover operation is over. After 6 months of drug buys, the task force still does not have enough evidence to put Vincent Hill and his gang in prison once and for all.
Had we charged him with the drug conspiracy alone, it might have gotten them 10 years, maybe 5 years. And what's even worse, they wouldn't have been held accountable for all the violent crimes they committed. So we still needed to investigate the murders and the robberies and the kidnappings and all the violent crimes that were associated with that group.
Investigators still have a lot of work to do. In the meantime, the streets rage with violence. In Washington, D.C., a lengthy undercover operation has begun to produce results. Investigators have videotaped the infamous K Street crew selling drugs. But now, they must find evidence of the gang's more violent activities. In 1995, a brave young woman steps forward.
So what would you like to
Chrissy Gladen is 19 years old.
that you can share with us?
As a single mother, she is worried about her neighborhood.
Okay. We know you're scared. He's a scary...
Chrissy tells police that Jerome Martin and Antonio Knight are responsible for a drive-by shooting. She overheard Martin talking about it. Although she doesn't know the victim's name, her description of the crime leads investigators to an unsolved murder. 6 months earlier, Travis Ross had been killed in a drive-by shooting near K Street. Two of his friends were critically wounded. Chrissy wants to testify against the gang. She knows they are the reason her neighborhood is so dangerous.
I just overheard a conversation between Jerome.
Still, she's afraid. She tells investigators that if she speaks out against the K Street crew, they will kill her. Chrissy Gladen and 2 other women finally agree to testify, but only if the FBI places them in the Witness Protection Program. Special Agent Vince Lissy.
We finally convinced Chrissy, as well as these other female witnesses, that we would work with them. We would try to keep them safe and make sure nothing happened to them. We stressed upon them not to tell people where they lived, not to take people to their new apartments.
Chrissy's cooperation pays off. Crew members Jerome Martin and Antonio Knight are indicted for murder.
Alrighty. Hold the slide up to your bicep. There you go.
Lissy believes they have enough evidence to get a conviction. Even though one witness has recanted, 2 others, including Chrissy, are still willing to testify.
It's not a big deal.
The week before the trial of Jerome Martin, we're constantly re-interviewing witnesses, talking to them, getting them ready to testify. We want them to know what questions they're going to be asked if they take the stand to testify. And the week before, we had Chrissy in the U.S. Attorney's office. We got her ready. She pretty much knew what was going to be expected of her. She wasn't an eyewitness to the murder, but she did fill in certain gaps.
Don't be scared.
4 days before the start of the murder trial, Vince Lissy receives a call from one of the witnesses.
I'll set it up. She was frantic, screaming, crying, telling me, they killed Chrissy, Chrissy's dead. And I couldn't believe it. And then whenever I realized what she was talking about, it was like somebody punched me in the stomach.
Agent Lissy drives over to the Southwest District. At the crime scene, Metro Police tell him what happened.
Get that marked right away. Let's call forensics.
According to witnesses, Chrissy attended a party on 37th Street at the home of Antonio Knight's girlfriend. As she left the party, 2 gunmen appeared and opened fire. By the time police arrived, Chrissy was already dead. Not surprisingly, investigators are unable to find a single witness willing to identify Chrissy's killers. The message from the K Street crew is clear. Talking to the police is a death sentence.
Chrissy thought that everything was fine. She trusted her friends, she trusted the people in that neighborhood, thought she could go back there and nothing was going to happen. That was probably the worst I've ever felt in this job. It's hard. It's hard to keep going sometimes when that happens.
Still, the task force pursues their case against Jerome Martin and Antonio Knight. The trial is a disaster.
The case had lingered in the system so long in D.C., we said, we got to go. And we went forward with it, and we did the best we could. Some witnesses were just physically unable to testify. They were just distraught. But we went forward and we lost.
Jerome Martin and Antonio Knight are acquitted due to lack of evidence. To the K Street crew, witnesses like Chrissy Gladen are a minor inconvenience.
It was really something to see these guys go free. And at that point, they won the battle. They were happy. They won the battle. And I told myself, you can't sit back and let them continue to win these battles.
Chrissy Gladen's death and the acquittal of Martin and Knight are major blows to the investigation. The task force refuses to give up. Somehow, they will find a way to bring the K Street crew to justice. In Washington, D.C., the K Street crew is terrorizing a neighborhood with drugs and violence. Investigators spent months working with 19-year-old witness Chrissy Gladen, who agreed to testify against them. On October 5th, she was gunned down outside a party. Even without witnesses, Detective Steve Kirshner is determined to find her killers.
We stayed on it, trying to find a break in that case, and we did everything we could. We printed up flyers, offered a reward. It really crushed the investigators on the case, especially Vince.
It's horrible. It's just, part of you says, what more can I do? That's it. You want to wave the white flag. But the other part of you says, wait a minute, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give in to their ways of justice. It's not the way it's supposed to be.
Less than a month later, the FBI and D.C. police get an unexpected break in the case. Robert Butchie Smith, a senior K Street crew member, is arrested for drug dealing. In an effort to get Smith to talk about the gang, the FBI tells him he faces federal racketeering charges. They're building a RICO case that will tie the gang's drug business to a series of murders. The tactic works. Smith finally agrees to talk.
Tell us what you know.
Smith reveals that the gang uses private investigators to identify people willing to testify against them. They also use the Freedom of Information Act to obtain court documents to target potential witnesses. Smith gives investigators leads on several unsolved kidnappings, shootings, and murders, according to Metro Detective Tony Brigadini.
He had very specific, protected information of the crimes and the business dealings that the members of the K Street crew participated in.
Smith specifically mentions a triple homicide that his nephew, William Sweeney, told him about. Sweeney, along with Sam Carson and James Montgomery, are fellow members of the K Street crew. Smith said Sweeney and Carson were in Las Vegas when Ryan Pierce, another drug dealer, won big at the tables. The two men decided to rob Pierce when he returned to D.C. On November 17th, 1996, Sweeney, Carson, and James Montgomery waited outside his home. Pierce arrived late that night, along with 3 friends. The K Street crew made their move.
Where at? What's up, man? What's this, man? Where the money at? No, where money? Get over here. Get over here. Get over here. Get over here.
Pierce told the gunman he had already put his winnings in the bank. There was no cash in the house.
Man, this is crazy, man. I don't have no money in, man. Wait.
Sweeney killed both men. One woman tried to flee, but was shot to death. Another woman managed to hide until the killers left.
Get out of here, my son. Let's get out of here.
According to Butchie Smith, the K Street crew usually kills people in response to a threat. But Pierce's murder was different. This time, it was all about greed.
My nephew, Sweeney.
Investigators hope that Smith's inside information is the break they need to finally bring down the gang.
At that point, then we knew, okay, now we can start to get the framework of an indictment ready so that we could go and start to prepare charges against these guys for crimes other than the drugs.
Smith agrees to become an FBI informant in exchange for a reduced sentence. It's a risky decision.
I'm dead. I'm done.
If anyone finds out he's talking to authorities, Vincent Hill will have him killed. Technicians analyze a single fingerprint found on a screen door at the murder scene. It matches Sweeney's prints, corroborating Butchie's story.
What also helped us was we got William Sweeney's cellular telephone records. And some of the people working the case began to go and investigate that. And they contacted the cell phone company and found out that the cell phone was used near the scene of the triple murder at the time of the murder.
Investigators moved quickly to neutralize Sweeney. In April 1997, he is arrested on unrelated charges. While awaiting trial in jail, Sweeney receives a copy of his own arrest warrant from his attorney. An unnamed source is listed as an informant against him. 2 months later, just when it looks like the task force is about to put an end to the gang's operation, Robert Butchie Smith is gunned down in broad daylight. The FBI informant has been shot a total of 13 times, mostly in the head.
When Butchie got killed, it brought back all these feelings and the memories, and you know, it's hard. It's hard to keep going sometimes when that happens. Much like Chrissy's murder, there were no leads, Although many people were out on the street and saw it that day, nobody would come forward, nobody talked.
Butchie Smith's murder threatens to unravel the case against the K Street crew. Investigators have lost their only informant. The brutal killing scares away other potential witnesses.
After Butchie's murder, we sat around looking at each other like, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? It really took a lot of the wind out of our sail.
We ain't stopping.
We had to figure out how we can continue with the investigation. Where were we going to go? We thought, okay, we can follow up with the leads Butchie gave us, but still, we needed somebody on the inside, and we no longer had Butchie to give it to us. We had to gather around and tell ourselves, we can't let this get us down. We can't stop.
In 1997, the FBI's case against the notorious K Street crew was in trouble. The only informant had been murdered, gunned down in cold blood. Other potential witnesses are terrified they'll meet the same fate. Before he was killed, FBI informant Butchie Smith told investigators that James Montgomery was one of the men responsible for a triple homicide.
It's not happening.
Montgomery is arrested and brought in for questioning.
Mr. Montgomery, interesting. You got like
Special Agent Vince Lissy pressures the suspect to talk about the triple homicide and the rest of the gang's crimes. Montgomery is already facing a long prison term for the murders.
You want to tell me about anything that you know?
In the end, he decides to cooperate. Montgomery admits his role in the triple homicide. He also confesses to 7 murders, including that of cooperating witness Chrissy Gladen. Lissy presses for more leads on crimes committed by the gang. Montgomery reveals that crew member Sam Carson killed informant Butchie Smith.
What else you know about Carson?
Then he drops a bombshell.
He told me, do you remember when the 2 girls got killed? And I asked him, which 2 girls? And he said, the ones back in the early 90s. I knew exactly what he meant.
Montgomery is referring to the unsolved murders of Teresa and Tarita Lucas.
And he began to tell me about it, and I just couldn't believe it.
What do you want, Sam? I just want to come in and talk to you for 1 or 2 minutes.
According to Montgomery, Sam Carson had stashed a bag of guns at the home of his girlfriend, Teresa Lucas. When he asked her to return the guns, Teresa claimed she didn't have them. She didn't want them around her children, so she threw them away.
Can I use the bathroom real second, please?
Carson was furious. He decided to confront Teresa one final time. Carson hid his handgun in the bathroom. He tried to calm Teresa's fears by showing her he was unarmed.
You know what this is about. I want my guns, Teresa.
He began again to ask her, where's my gun? I need my gun. Where did you put it?
No, nobody has them. Sam, I just literally meant I want them right now. No, Sam, there are children in the house. I want my guns.
And she gave him an answer that wasn't satisfactory.
All right, you want me to go? Just go. You want me to go, right? I get out.
He went back to the bathroom, retrieved his gun.
That's for the wrong person, Teresa. Sam. Sam.
Killed her. Sam walked into the bedroom, and as Tarita was waking up and starting to sit up in bed, he shot and killed her.
According to Montgomery, Carson got rid of any evidence that linked him to the crime scene.
Took his time. When he was satisfied that he had removed any photos, wiped all his fingerprints, he walked from the apartment, got in the car, and left.
Investigators asked Montgomery how the crew had discovered the identities of 2 undercover police officers, Joe Abdallah and Jim Scheider. Montgomery admits that someone from the other side of town recognized them as law enforcement and told Vincent Hill.
No, there was this girl.
Although Hill didn't believe it at first, he soon became suspicious, according to investigator Joe Abdallah.
Yeah. Back in the
On a subsequent buy we made after that day, they followed us in the truck as we left and followed us back to the FBI building where was our meeting spot after the buys took place. And that's the date they quit selling to us.
Lissy isn't taking any chances with this witness. He decides to move Montgomery out of state for his own protection. In the fall of 1997, Montgomery pleads guilty to 7 murders. As part of the plea agreement, the court seals details of his sentence and whereabouts.
FBI, I have a warrant for your arrest. Put your hands on your head now.
Police arrest Sam Carson and charge him with the murder of Teresa and Tarita Lucas. William Sweeney, already in jail on unrelated charges, is indicted for the triple homicide. With Montgomery safely hidden, law enforcement begins to dismantle the K Street crew's infrastructure. Jerome Martin, Sean Coates, and gang leader Vincent Hill are arrested in the summer of 1998. A federal indictment charges the gang with 13 murders, 87 counts of racketeering, drug distribution, kidnappings, and robberies. A federal judge permits recorded testimony from Chrissy Gladen and Robert Butchie Smith to be introduced at trial. Even in death, the gang's victims point a finger at their killers. In 2001, every gang member charged with murder is convicted. They receive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Gang members not accused of murder plead guilty to charges ranging from kidnapping to drug trafficking.
There's no doubt in my mind that if these guys stayed on the street, they would have continued doing what they were doing. That was their life. They knew how to sell drugs, how to rob people, how to kill people.
Thanks to the tireless efforts of both the FBI and DC Metro Police, K Street is now a safer place to live. In Las Vegas, an ex-convict is back to his old ways. Big money cons, low-level burglary, and violent assaults. Local police track him, but he's gone. The FBI joins the case, and the violence escalates. To capture the desperate fugitive, authorities need to anticipate his next move.
Women are most often assaulted by someone they know, but sometimes a stranger attacks. Near Las Vegas in December of 2000, a young woman became the latest victim of a violent sex offender. Before authorities could locate him, he would add murder to his list of crimes. I'm Jim Kallstrom, former head of the FBI's New York office. FBI agents tracked the armed fugitive across the country, and as they closed in, the gunman was determined to avoid capture at any cost.
Las Vegas, Nevada. Beneath the bright lights are thousands of workers keeping the town running, and criminals ready to take whatever they can. Early on the morning of December 11th, 2000, in the Las Vegas suburb of Henderson, the 17-year-old waitress was on her way to work. In a parking lot, a man offered her a ride to work.
Who's going to work?
She declined.
Move it, go. Get in. Get in. Open. Hurry up, move it, get in.
His gun stopped her from crying out. He drove her to a secluded area where he sexually assaulted her. As soon as she could, she took her only chance and fled, running to a nearby restaurant to call 911. Henderson police took the call.
Are you injured? Do you need an ambulance, ma'am?
The girl gave a description of her attacker and his vehicle.
You said that was a red Eclipse? Did he have any weapons?
The patrol officer headed to the restaurant to interview the young woman and take her to a nearby medical center. En route, he spotted a red sports car that matched the description given by the victim. When the officer approached, the driver sped away.
Suspect vehicle description. It's a red Mitsubishi Eclipse, number 1 traveling of westbound Warm Springs at Valley Parade.
As they neared the city and busier streets, the suspect's driving became more erratic. The officer decided the risk to civilians was too great and pulled back. But police now had the vehicle's license plate number. Henderson PD ran the tags and traced the vehicle to a Las Vegas address. Las Vegas detective Barry Jensen contacted the owner, who explained he had given the car to his daughter to use. The owner said he and his daughter, Rachel Mills, would meet Detective Jensen at her apartment. She had just gotten off work from a local casino. When the detective arrived, he told them about the car eluding police with reported sexual assault. Rachel said that her husband had the car that morning. He had dropped her off at work at 5 a.m., and she had not seen him since. She hoped there had been some mistake.
She knew that he had been arrested for sexual assault in the past. She knew that he had been in prison, but she didn't believe any of that was true, or she didn't want to believe that any of that was true.
Rachel had noticed their car had been parked across the lot. Detective Jensen asked her to check the apartment and see if her husband had returned. He and her father would check out the car. Looking around the apartment, she realized that her husband had taken most of his belongings. It appeared as if he had left her. The father owned the car, but since Rachel and her husband were the regular drivers, only they could consent to a search.
His stuff is gone. His clothes, the drawers, all the stuff he keeps on the dresser.
photos. I don't know. Everything seems it's gone.
Would you give me your verbal consent to search the car without getting a search warrant?
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you got a set of keys.
Though shaken by what was happening, Rachel gave Jensen permission to search the vehicle. The detective believed the placement of the car far from the apartment was telling.
In my opinion, it was hidden in the parking lot. I think he knew the police were going to find his apartment. If his car wasn't parked right out front, I think he felt that he had more time. He was creating more distance between law enforcement and himself.
Inside the car, Jensen noticed that the few personal effects matched what the assault victim described, pointing more suspicion toward Rachel's husband. She said he didn't have a regular job, but beyond that, Rachel and her father were unable to give the detective much more information.
All they were able to tell us was that he loved to play blackjack and craps. They had no idea where he was getting the money to do that.
Jensen called for crime scene technicians to process the car, in case there was unseen evidence inside.
It's going to be about 15 minutes for the tow truck to get here.
He had to tell Rachel that her husband was a strong suspect in the assault of a 17-year-old girl. At his request, she gave Jensen a photo of her husband, Magor Mansour. If Mansour was the assailant, Jensen hoped the victim could ID him based on the photo.
I want you to look at every picture.
At the police station, Detective Jensen interviewed the young woman. She identified Magor Mansour as her attacker. Nevada police charged him with kidnapping and sexual assault. Jensen found that Mansour had an extensive rap sheet.
He'd been arrested several times for sexual-related offenses, sexual assault, open and gross lewdness. He'd also been arrested for burglaries, credit card fraud, and weapons violations.
While in prison, Mansour had been diagnosed with a severe personality disorder that bordered on sociopathic.
He was a sophisticated con artist. He could make people do things that they wouldn't normally do. He was a serial rapist and a career criminal.
For several days, police had no good leads on the case. Then Jensen got a tip from a new ally.
Sexual assault, Jensen.
Mansour's father-in-law.
Yeah, Richard. He'd been digging around, talking to family friends, and he knew that Mansour was a big gambler at one of the local hotels, and he felt that he would have a room there. I found that he did have a room that was comped because he was a large money player.
Since hotel security had cameras in the hallways, the detective asked them to watch and call police if anyone entered Mansour's room.
They weren't set up to make an arrest or to grab Mansour. I didn't feel comfortable asking them to because I believed that he was dangerous.
That night, a security officer spotted a man entering Mansour's room. He immediately contacted Las Vegas police.
Yeah, this hotel security. He has returned to the hotel.
Detectives were on their way. But the man exited the room less than a minute after he went in and casually slipped away. When the Vice Squad detectives arrived, they checked his room.
We found a suitcase and some family pictures, nothing else that would help her further our investigation.
They searched the entire hotel casino, but there was no sign of Mansour. They realized in order to find him, they needed more resources, and turned the case over to Special Agent Scott Backen and Detective Brian Dunaway of the Las Vegas FBI's Criminal Apprehension Team. a multi-agency squad responsible for tracking down fugitives in the Las Vegas area. The squad's first step was to distribute informational sheets about Mansour to area hotels.
When we have someone that we're looking for and we believe that he's gone to a hotel or something, we have a system called TRAX, T-R-A-X, which is it's a fancy fax machine. It allows us to send color digital photos to large groups of people simultaneously to alert them. Those people that don't have TRAX alerts, we went to old-fashioned police work. We were knocking on doors and delivering these things and conducting interviews and making sure that everyone knew about him.
We're looking for this guy right here. He comes under a few different aliases.
Investigators checked registers for known aliases of Mansour. They found nothing.
These two gentlemen are from the FBI.
But some security personnel recognized Mansour as a suspect in a string of room burglaries plaguing the Vegas Strip. They described his frequent cons. They said Mansour preyed on tourists, mostly those of Middle Eastern or Asian origin.
Okay, thank you.
He would often pose as a translator or as a tour guide, and he would do this in order to gain the confidence of people that were in town who had money. After gaining their confidence, he would use this information to usually enter their rooms because he was able to contact the hotel staff and pose as these people.
When the tourists returned to their rooms, they found them ransacked.
Right away.
Over several days, Mansour had stolen more than $250,000 in cash and jewelry.
We have been completely robbed. We have been robbed.
Everything is gone.
Agent Bakken believed the suspect would use the money to flee Nevada.
We obtained an unlawful flight to avoid prosecution warrant, which is a federal warrant, charging him with fleeing one state, going to another to avoid prosecution for the underlying charge, which was sexual assault. With the federal warrant, it allowed us to engage other FBI offices around the country in searching for Mansour.
They tried to narrow the scope of the nationwide search by reviewing any piece of information they could find regarding the suspect.
We were able to gather INS records, immigration records, that type of stuff, and we found that he had been in their custody for a great deal of time, and he was here citing some sort of religious persecution. And then we were able to pull in the records from New Jersey and the other places that he had been at. We found that he had been involved in gambling, fraud, generally property crimes types of things.
Mansour's wife gave them long-distance phone records which showed many calls to casinos around the country.
We began developing a profile of him as a gambler, and once we did that, we focused our investigation on the gambling establishments.
One of the gambling communities they notified was New Orleans. Casinos there should look out for it. On the morning of January 9th, 2001, 29 days after the Las Vegas sexual assault and kidnapping, a man in an obvious wig appeared at the New Orleans airport. Paying cash, he booked a flight to Las Vegas under the name Francis Gabriel. In the middle of the transaction, he changed his destination to Los Angeles.
There you go. Thank you.
Ticket agents are trained to spot suspicious activity.
Security, please. Yes.
She notified airport police. The wig, cash, and odd behavior was enough probable cause for the undercover officer to question the man. He followed him outside, then asked to see his identification ticket.
I'm asking you, you got your ticket?
Soon, New Orleans authorities would learn the identity of the carjacker and join the hunt for an elusive fugitive.
Yeah, I'm at door 6A. He ran up on the roof.
In January 2001, Las Vegas authorities hunted fugitive Magor Mansour, suspected of robbery, kidnapping, and sexual assault. A month later, at the New Orleans airport, a man in a disguise assaulted a police officer, then escaped in a carjacked pickup truck. Undercover Jefferson Parish police assigned to the airport reported the incident. And an APB for the truck and its driver went out to police in nearby parishes. "30 minutes later, a St. Charles Parish deputy spotted the pickup truck 10 miles from the airport. He called in the plates, confirming it was the stolen truck. But the deputy knew there was construction ahead, so he did not pursue at high speed. The truck entered the road construction zone, but the driver was not going to stop and swerved toward a highway worker. The St. Charles Parish deputy arrived seconds later. Seeing the worker down, he called for an ambulance, then went to check the truck. The carjacker was gone. At the airport, police searched a piece of luggage the fugitive had dropped. Since it was left unattended on airport property, Lieutenant Glenn Toka did not need a warrant.
We found some identification with a photograph of the suspect, an Italian passport. When we checked that, it was found to have been a stolen passport, which the suspect had obviously placed his photograph on.
Police also found a list of stolen credit card numbers, players' cards from casinos throughout the United States, and multiple Social Security numbers. Because of possible interstate fraud, Jefferson Parish Police called the New Orleans FBI. They forwarded the photo and name used on the stolen passport to Special Agent Sandra Zulli.
We immediately started running that name through our system to try to identify photographs of anyone that used that name.
The photo of fugitive Magor Mansour, wanted out of Las Vegas, matched the one on the passport. Calling Vegas to learn more details, Zulli confirmed it was him. Despite the best efforts of the emergency personnel, the highway worker died of his injuries. Authorities began their search for Mansour at the truck and worked outward from there. Lieutenant Toka joined the search near the Mississippi River.
We did about a mile radius search, plus the state police helped us on the perimeters that were doing the search. We had a helicopter up, plus we had tracking dogs in the location.
The area's landscape made it difficult.
There are buildings, tugboats, wharves. It's a working area, and there's a lot of abandoned warehouses there, derelict barges up on the ground and everything.
They searched for more than 24 hours, checking every conceivable hiding place.
We theorized that he had either gone into the river and drowned or that he had made his way out of the security envelope.
Still, authorities had to assume that Mansour was alive. They hoped to determine where the fugitive had been while in New Orleans. Perhaps he would go back there. They reviewed airline passenger lists and surveillance tapes to reconstruct the fugitive's movements.
The day before, he had come down from Connecticut into New Orleans, and we were able to track him to some local casinos that he was at that night, and then the next day he was supposed to be flying out, and that's when he was confronted by the officer.
Mansour's behavior pattern was clear.
We felt that eventually he would show up at a casino, and that's why we focused on the casino security departments to make sure they were alerted to look for him in possibly a disguise.
Magor Mansour.
Authorities also broadcast his photo and the aliases he used, hoping the public could help find him. Anyone with information was asked to call a dedicated tip line. Police immediately began receiving sightings. One came from a motorist who thought he had seen Mansour the night the highway worker was killed. The motorist said that night he'd been driving behind a taxi on a road near the airport. He saw a man come out of the woods and hail the taxi. It looked like Mansour. But police could not find the taxi driver, and the trail went cold.
We were receiving numerous reports of individuals who they felt looked like this individual walking down the road, sitting at a bar, at a casino, and all of these were checked out.
Yet none of the sightings led to Mansour. The next lead came from officers patrolling the nearby Mississippi River.
Shortly after the disappearance, we received a call of a body that they located floating at the bank of the river. And we knew that in the file from the Las Vegas division that we had dental records of Magor Mansour, who had dental work done while in prison. So we obtained the dental records and had a comparison done.
The records did not match. Mansour's whereabouts were still unknown. And now that he was wanted for killing a man, he'd be more desperate than ever to avoid them. Wanted on a charge of sexual assault and kidnapping, fugitive Magor Mansour disappeared from Las Vegas. Weeks later, he resurfaced in New Orleans, where he carjacked a truck and killed a highway worker. Not only was he moving quickly across jurisdictions, he was also using multiple identities, according to FBI Special Agent Sandra Zulli.
Magor Mansour utilized so many different aliases. We determined that he was stealing identification cards on a regular basis while he was staying in the casino area. The players' cards that we located in the luggage were determined to be stolen from casinos.
Some of those players' cards were from casinos in Atlantic City. To follow up on them, Louisiana agents contacted the FBI's Newark field office. Special Agent Joseph Fury checked on a casino player's card Mansour used under the name Yasser Hamid.
I called the hotel casino and talked to the senior vice president in charge of security, and he advised me that Mr. Hamid had in fact been a player at their casino, and on January 3rd of 2001 had played and won approximately $50,000.
That was 6 days before the airport incident in New Orleans. But considering Mansour's lavish gambling lifestyle, the money probably would not last long.
If he was desperate for money, we thought he might come back to Atlantic City to gamble again.
Agent Fury learned a New Jersey phone number had been found in Mansour's luggage.
We didn't know the reason he had the number, whether or not he had ever called the number, or who was on the receiving end of that call.
Okay.
Authorities traced the number to a house in the Atlantic City suburb of Brigantine and set up surveillance on it. They knew the house belonged to a local cab driver, but little else. Agents watched on the slim chance the house might be connected to Mansour. Other teams of agents also searched the gambling community of Atlantic City.
We distributed wanted posters to all of the hotel casinos in Atlantic City, as well as the Atlantic City Police Department and New Jersey State Police.
Someone, somewhere, was bound to run into the elusive killer. Yet months went by with no sign of him. Then, at an Atlantic City hotel on the night of May 4th, 2001, a vacationing Pennsylvania state trooper and his wife returned to their room.
Honey?
Yeah.
And discovered they weren't alone.
Get over there. Everything's fine. Shut your mouth. Here's my wallet. I'm not worried about that.
The trooper recognized Mansour from wanted posters. He knew the man had killed before. But for some reason, Mansour left without harming the couple or taking any money. The state trooper notified the hotel about Mansour and asked them to call the FBI.
Yes, right now. Call the FBI.
Mansour had emerged from hiding, now with a gun. Again, a threat to anyone who ran across him.
Yes, thank you. Bye. You okay?
As the case progressed, I knew he was a desperate man, living a life of luxury which he didn't earn, and he was desperate to avoid law enforcement contact.
2 days later, at 6:30 in the morning, a casino ATM alerted hotel security of someone attempting to use a stolen credit card to obtain a cash advance.
Come here a second. I need to show you something real quick. Check this guy out here on the ATM machine here. Why don't you go check that out for me? Check see what's going on.
One of the hotel security officers confronted the cardholder, who calmly explained the card belonged to him. He claimed he had reported it stolen, but found it again that morning and forgot to cancel the hold on it. Asked for identification, the man handed the security officer an Indian passport that had been obviously altered. When the security officer tried to bring the man in for questioning, he pulled a gun,
Don't move, you got it. Don't follow me.
then fled.
All things fine.
Though the officer didn't know it yet, the man he was trying to take into custody was Magor Mansour. The suspect jumped into a nearby taxi and forced the driver to help him escape. Hotel security called the incident in to Atlantic City Police. Several units mobilized to find the carjacked taxi. But once again, Mansour was one step ahead. When he got distracted, the driver took a chance. Minutes later, witnesses outside the Taj Mahal casino saw a well-dressed man leave a taxi idling at the curb and disappear inside. Fielding the calls about the incidents, Atlantic City Police believed Mansour must be involved. Authorities immediately responded to the Taj Mahal. Witnesses' descriptions matched the fugitive. And detectives found an altered Indian passport, the one from the ATM incident. The photo was of Magor Mansour.
The cab driver stated that Mansour told him he would shoot and kill him, as well as any police officer who stopped him, and he would not go back to jail. At that point, we kind of stepped up the investigation, knowing that it wasn't a one-time incident. It was an individual who was on a crime spree and seemed to be on a downward spiral.
Magor Mansour had eluded authorities for months. Now, as agents surrounded the massive Taj Mahal casino, they hoped they finally had him cornered. The FBI sought Magor Mansour for kidnapping, sexual assault, carjacking, and second-degree murder. He had eluded them in Las Vegas and New Orleans. In May of 2001, he surfaced in Atlantic City. Hoping finally to stop him, FBI Special Agent Joseph Fury organized a search of the hotel casino Mansour was seen entering.
We established a command post at the Taj Mahal with the Atlantic City Police Department, the New Jersey State Police, as well as security personnel from the Taj Mahal in an effort to locate Mansour, thinking that he may be in the hotel somewhere.
But Mansour wouldn't be easy to find. The 1,200-room hotel boasts a 135,000 square foot casino and is often filled with thousands of guests. And in service areas, there are dozens of hallways with plenty of offices and storage rooms to hide in. Investigators had to clear each one.
Clear, coming out.
Authorities feared Mansour had escaped again. They broadened the search area.
New Jersey State Police and Atlantic City Police canvassed the entire hotel casino, as well as every hotel casino in Atlantic City.
They found nothing. Somehow, Mansour had slipped away. Investigators requested security tapes from all Atlantic City hotel casinos, hoping to find a lead. After reviewing hundreds of hours of tapes, they finally spotted Mansour. He was getting out of a cab. Checking the taxi's identification number, state police learned it was owned by an independent operator living outside of Atlantic City, in Brigantine.
I asked what the cab driver's name was and the location where they were going, and they told me a name which came back to the individual who I had been surveilling in anticipation of Mansour returning to the Atlantic City area.
Authorities returned to the Brigantine house with a search warrant and a SWAT team. The SWAT team moved into position. To get the cab driver out of the house, an agent called inside, posing as a dispatcher. He told the driver that one of his regular fares needed a ride.
We felt that if Mansour was inside, it might be a hostage-type situation.
Put your hands on top of your head. Put your hands on top of your head.
But the driver emerged alone, and they pulled him away so they could talk to him safely. The driver said no one else was in the house, but the arrest team had to be sure.
All clear.
It was another disappointment.
Okay.
Authorities returned to the state police barracks to interview the cab driver. He said he had driven Mansour around the Atlantic City area several times in recent years. They had become friends, but now he was more than willing to cooperate.
He immediately told us that Mansour had been at his house that morning, had pulled a gun on him, and had ordered him to drive him towards Philadelphia, which was approximately an hour drive from Atlantic City. He actually drove Mansour into Philadelphia and dropped him off.
The driver hadn't called police because Mansour knew where he lived, and he was afraid he would come back to get him. Fury notified the FBI's Philadelphia field office that Mansour might be there.
I then drove from Atlantic City to Philadelphia with pictures of Mansour and assisted the Philadelphia division.
Sir, FBI.
The agents went to a bus station near where Mansour was dropped off, looking for anyone who had seen him.
We showed the picture to several counter attendants, one who recognized the picture and said that Mansour had purchased a bus ticket to New York.
Yes, sir.
It seemed Mansour had gone to Philadelphia, only to make his trail more difficult to follow. On May 9th, 2001, the FBI added Magor Mansour to its 10 most wanted fugitives list. This made him a top priority for every FBI agent in the nation, according to Task Force member Brian Dunaway.
Him being on the FBI's Most Wanted does a few things. It allocates a great deal more resources to the investigation, and it places a $50,000 reward for his capture.
The following day, security at Atlantic City's Taj Mahal Resort reported that a gunman matching Mansour's description had robbed the hotel jewelry store of $300,000 worth of watches. Surveillance video captured the plate number of the limo Mansour used to escape. At the Newark field office, the FBI questioned the limousine driver. He said he had picked Mansour up in New York City earlier that day. When Mansour had called for the limo, he asked to be picked up on a certain street corner. The driver didn't know where he was staying. He said Mansour seemed like any other high-stakes gambler. But around 8 o'clock, he heard security alarms. Then Mansour jumped in and ordered him to speed away. The driver followed orders. Mansour had a gun. The fugitive got out of the limousine 5 blocks from the robbed hotel and hopped into another cab, a white Crown Victoria with New Jersey plates. The FBI asked local police to issue an all-points bulletin for white Crown Victoria cabs in Atlantic City. That night, police stopped every taxi matching the description. Eventually, they found the driver who had picked up Mansour. He reported that he had taken the man to Philadelphia and dropped him off at the airport. The FBI learned that only 2 flights had departed Philadelphia late enough for Mansour to have boarded. Both were bound for Las Vegas. Manifests did not show Mansour's name, but he might be flying under an alias they did not know yet. If Mansour were on either flight, authorities in Las Vegas would be ready for him. In the pre-dawn hours of May 11th, 2001, the FBI believed deadly fugitive Magor Mansour might be aboard one of 2 flights to Las Vegas. New Jersey FBI Special Agent Joseph Fury kept working as the planes traveled cross-country.
I contacted the Las Vegas division to advise them that Mansour had committed the armed robbery in Atlantic City, and he may in fact be en route back to Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Police Department as well as the FBI were at the airport waiting for both planes to arrive.
Vegas detective Brian Dunaway had been tracking Mansour from the beginning. He knew how dangerous and desperate the fugitive was.
Everyone that we had talked to, everyone that knew anything about him, knew that he wasn't going to go back to jail. He had made those statements, and his actions were just of such desperation that he wasn't a person that wasn't going to face these charges. And his previous incarcerations and the records that they kept on him there was just no way he was going back. So he was going to go out in a blaze of glory.
Mansour frequently used disguises and false IDs to travel. But he wasn't on the first flight. When the second plane landed, agents cleared it too. From the limo driver they'd interviewed, they knew he had last stayed in New York City.
At that point, I contacted Special Agent Ted Miller of the New York Division to advise him that Mansour was not on either flight that went to Las Vegas, and it would be more likely that he would be in New York City.
Reviewing Mansour's phone records from Las Vegas, agents interviewed Mansour's associates in New York, reminding them of the $50,000 reward. Eventually, they tracked down Mansour's regular limo driver in the city.
In New York, it's very hard to get a taxi cab, and you have several private limos that will be at your beck and call. And this limo driver was willing to drive Mansour because he seemed to have quite a bit of money.
He said he hadn't seen Mansour recently. But on previous trips, he always picked Mansour up from the same Midtown hotel.
Okay. If you think of anything else that might help us, please give us a call.
The limo driver was cooperative and was going to take them to an area where he thought Mansour was staying. It was approximately 6 in the morning when Agent Miller advised me they had located the hotel.
FBI agents, New York City police, and U.S. Marshals headed to the hotel. Special Agent Timothy LeTurner was part of the arrest team.
We got a call from Special Agent Miller saying the subject Mansour committed an armed robbery last night at the Taj Mahal Casino in Atlantic City, and we believe he retreated to New York, and we think we have good leads that he may be at the hotel located at West 47th Street.
The investigators set up on surveillance outside. Before the stakeout, they had been briefed on the case and warned of the danger.
We talked about how he brandished a handgun during several crimes he committed. We talked about the armed rape of a 17-year-old girl and a murder he committed in Louisiana. So we knew about his propensity to violence.
Several investigators went to check with the front desk. The clerk was able to confirm that Mansour had used one of his aliases to check in. He gave them Mansour's room number, but didn't know if he was there.
Our plan at that time was we were going to make a ruse phone call into the room we believed Mansour might be staying in. We had agents outside the room. We had agents in the lobby. What we decided to do was a wake-up call. If he answered or we heard stirring in the room, we would know he'd be in there, or someone would be in there. We made several calls. We got no response telephonically. We heard nothing in the room.
Mansour must have gone out. They hoped he would return. Hours later, they spotted him. He was alone and heading back into the hotel. This time, they wouldn't let him slip away. Mansour had long vowed not to be taken alive. He went for a gun and aimed at a detective.
From the time I saw the gun to the time my weapon was fired, you're talking about 2 or 3 seconds. So not a whole lot of time to think about it. You have innocent civilians in the lobby. Missing isn't an option.
Even with 3 9mm rounds in him, Mansour continued to struggle as they took him into custody. Because of their training, the arrest team was unharmed.
Things had to be instinctive. Things had to be committed to muscle memory. And those reactions that occurred that morning were reactions based on excellent training. They were the byproduct of great training. So my recommendation to other agents would be receive as much training as you can. Try and get it to the point where it's instinctive.
The pursuit of Mansour had lasted 5 months, involving more than a dozen law enforcement agencies. New York City emergency personnel tried to stabilize Mansour, but he died en route to the hospital. His rampage was finally over.
Not any one law enforcement agency can handle an investigation of this magnitude by themselves, and without the cooperation and efforts of all of the law enforcement agencies, I don't think Mansour would have been caught without causing harm to someone else.